JFK, a time remembered. Next on PBS. National funding for this look back at one of the most dramatic events in 20th century history is provided by General Dynamics. General Dynamics, a strong company for a strong country.
The ceremony lasted less than 15 minutes, but these images remain forever in the memory of almost every American who was living in the fall of 1963. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was saluted for the last time by his family, his friends, and the people he had led for 2 years, 10 months, and 2 days.
I can remember Bobby once saying to me, well, he's going to be so young when he's finished his second term. What is he going to do then? And I said, well, the world's going to be a different place then. And then it was all snatched away from us.
We tend to romanticize a little bit, I think. Times past. To be truly honest, I don't think we could ever half romanticize what might really have been had he lived. Could have been a glorious period in our history.
There was the sense of John Kennedy when he was alive. It wasn't the sense of greatness about him. It was the sense of potential greatness. Now that's pretty exciting, and it made the country exciting. And John Kennedy and Mrs. Kennedy and the whole Kennedy administration brought with them a sense of not only hope, not only great potential, maybe even a destiny for greatness, but they brought with them excitement, energy, style, sense of humor. So when all of that ended in one terrible flash with the president's death, this made the mourning all the deeper.
For me, a lot of light went out of the world, you know? It just wasn't quite as bright, it wasn't quite as warm, wasn't quite as much fun, wasn't quite as challenging to me. Kennedy, he added a lot. And I think had his life not been cut short, he would have been one of the great presidents of all time.
Larry O'Brien was with the president the morning of November 22nd, 1963.
There was, as I recall it, a breakfast meeting to take place and an outdoor event across from the hotel in a big open area. And I went in to visit the president, and he was looking out the window down at this open area where they were putting the finishing touches on the platform and all the rest of it. And he made the comment to me, they talk about security and protecting you. But he said, look at this. If somebody wants to get you, they can always do it.
The President and Mrs. Kennedy arrived in Dallas at 11:38 Central Standard Time. In less than 1 hour, the President would be mortally wounded. Tom Wicker was covering the President's trip for the New York Times.
There was a big crowd at the Dallas airport, and the president, as he did in those days, or as any president does, he worked the fence, and shook hands with the crowd. And though we had all been warned that there might be trouble, of course, what one anticipated was demonstrators or maybe somebody throwing an egg or something of that sort, None of that transpired, and I don't even remember any hostile signs. There probably were some, but I don't recall them from that day. And you have to remember that in the fall of 1963, the polls showed President Kennedy's popularity down. He'd had some defeats, suffered some defeats as president and so forth. And he was not, at that time, the popular idol that we may remember today.
He had the top down in Dallas. I think that was I know that was a sense he had, that in order to really make the most out of travels as a president, why you had to be observed by the people, that the people saw you, they'd be likely to vote for you in the next election because they would feel that they too were part of history, part of that administration. So I think that the top was down as a political ploy to get people to support him in 1964, because I think he cared very much about getting reelected.
Dan Rather was in Dallas on assignment for CBS News.
Our plan was at various places along the motorcade in Dallas, film would be dropped off by our crew in the motorcade, and we had pre-designated film drops along the motorcade route. And I went to one of those film drop places, in fact, what was supposed to be the last one. And we had a pre-designated place, for those who may know the area, just past the railroad tracks. Those tracks were just past the grassy knoll, just past the school book depository.
I rode in the car behind the president. I rode in the car with the Secret Service. And now they had come on the car